I started in 2006 as a landlord, buying property. We started seeing more and more people who were in trouble, who were just being taken advantage of. So we primarily help people who are facing difficulty with their homes, usually with debt, and who are sort of facing the risk of losing their home by way of repossession. And we, most of the time, are able to step in and stop that from happening. But what really drives us here is very much making a difference.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Entrepreneur TV. Today is going to be a good one because it's all about property. Now, maybe you are sat there at home and you're a little bit concerned with all the bills, the cost of living, or maybe you have a property that you just can't get rid of but need to get rid of. Well, we have an expert here. He's a guru. That's what I'm going to call him. It's Prab from Faster Property Solutions. Thank you very much, Prab, for coming all this way to Grimsby to see us.
Wonderful. Absolute pleasure to be here.
So, this is Faster Property Solutions, just in a nutshell, because we'll go into the nuts and bolts of it a bit later on. Just in a nutshell, what do you do?
So we primarily help people who are facing difficulty with their homes, usually with debt, and who are sort of facing the risk of losing their home by way of repossession. And we, most of the time, are able to step in and stop that from happening and prevent that from them, prevent them from losing their homes.
So, the start of the business, was this something that you've always been into property, or have you had other careers before and thought, this is what I'm passionate about?
No, I was a very late starter in property. I didn't start property till about 2006. I graduated in 91 as a potential budding accountant, and it was the biggest recession we've ever seen. So it started and stopped very quickly. So I did quite a few different businesses before I stepped into property.
And what was it about this that really made you think this is needed? People need help.
Well, I started in 2006 as a landlord, buying property. And then once I'd sort of got to a comfortable place, I really wanted to start doing other things. Met up with a few friends and we started developing property. And then we got into the property buying business. And it was only while we were in that business that we started seeing more and more people who were in trouble, who were just being taken advantage of by either bridging companies or cash buying companies. And that's how Faster Property Solutions was born.
I mean, being the landlord, you could see it firsthand, couldn't you? And I mean, that must have been sort of a bit heartbreaking because, like you said, there was no help. And that is actually true, isn't it? I mean, nobody really steps in to sort of help you. It's just the bank want their money, the mortgage company want their money. And the pressure that puts on people is unbelievable.
Oh, I mean, we don't take what we do very lightly because we are dealing with people who are under immense pressure. And fortunately, myself, Tim, and Sherry, who started this business, we came together from a place of being comfortable financially. So we weren't driven by making a profit. We wanted to do a business together. But what really drives us here is very much making a difference. And the profit is a byproduct of that.
You've got a really good team, haven't you, behind you?
Yeah.
I've seen that on the website and all their lovely photographs and what they're doing, their strengths. I mean, how important is team to you in your business?
Oh, gosh. I mean, again, I was a very late starter to the word team because I lost my mum when I was 10 on my birthday, and I became a very independent person for many, many years. And it took me quite a long time to understand that you can really only grow and make a big difference with a team. But the great thing about our team is that, great minds think alike. So we attract the right people. We're very clear about what we're doing and why we're doing it. And then it's no coincidence that the team we've got behind us believe in that, and we've got something very special.
I would imagine that the people you've chosen in your team as well are extremely compassionate. You've got to have that empathy to do that job, I would imagine.
Oh, 100%. I mean, for me, I get a lump in my throat sometimes talking about it, but we love what we do because we are genuinely saving people's lives. I mean, a home is everybody's castle. And when you've got the threat of losing that, and you've got the opportunity to work with us, and we can actually stop that from happening, it's a huge but very honourable responsibility.
I mean, the other side to it as well, there's other people who've like even inherited homes and they really don't know what to do with them and they can't shift them quick enough. Is that something that your company can help with as well?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we deal with any property related issue. So, our advertising is very unique. It's very different to others, so we don't really have that. To my knowledge, there's not a single company that does what we do. So any property related issue we help with. And the fundamental difference is we work together with the vendor. We're not just a business doing a one-stop solution. We're actually holding their hand from the start and hopefully getting them to a much better place.
I mean, I can imagine you're a very, very busy man. I mean, what does a typical work day actually look like for you?
Well, up until recently, I was the person, along with Tim, who was dealing with customers. And that's what I did day in and day out. And again, once we realized that the business needed to expand, I've had to put my CEO hat on. And now I'm working more and more on the business rather than in the business. So it's really looking at expansion, partnerships, funding. We've recently started TV advertising. So it's really looking at the bigger picture and the growth of the business rather than the day-to-day involvement.
And I'd imagine now that with social media getting so big, there's another hat that you're having to sort of work on, and say, you know what, I've now really got to get into this. We've got AI coming and all sorts of things. So as an entrepreneur, you do really have to wear a lot of hats, don't you?
You do, absolutely. And when you start working with a team and different personalities, you start realizing how complicated things can be. So there are lots of different hats. But again, when you've got the right people in the team and you've got the right vision, things sort of just work themselves out, don't they?
What do you think is a popular misconception about your industry that you work in?
Well, it's very much what had us become Faster Property Solutions, because we originally started as a company called Quick Property Sale, and we were dealing with the competition who unfortunately are very unscrupulous. So one of the biggest misconceptions for us is that we have to deal with is, there is this conception that we're money grabbing, how the cash buying companies operate. So it does take time to educate people to help them see that we work completely the opposite way to how most companies out there work. So there is this perception that we're going to take advantage, but once people understand what we do and how we do it, they really see that we are very different.
I mean, how can people stop that falling into that pitfall
Mm.
of going with an unscrupulous firm? Are there any sort of regulatory things that people should look out for? What is it that people need to be aware of?
Well, fortunately, as we expand, people become more aware about who we are and what we do. We're never going to get rid of the unscrupulous bridging lenders or cash buying companies that take advantage. I mean, look, there's good companies out there as well that do it in an honest way. But it's really just awareness. That's what we're trying to create more of. We're working with charities more now, so that we do eventually want to get to that point where people know that we're the company that can be approached if people are having difficulty.
I mean, you must hear some real hard stories of how people have fallen on the bottom rung of the ladder. But what would you say to someone if they are at that point? How they can help themselves? What's the first thing that they should do?
I think a lot of people do bury their head in the sand, understandably, when they're in this kind of situation, not only because it's embarrassing for them, but what they need to understand is that people like us are out there. There's always someone out there that can help. And I think at the very first instance, companies like Citizens Advice Bureau, Shelter, these companies are there to give advice. So I would say, it's so important to reach out. That's the biggest thing. But, fortunately, with the sort of widespread advertising that we do, we are getting more and more people reaching out to us. So that awareness is increasing.
And do you think there's anything maybe that government could do to maybe help this? Because I mean, we've gone through very tough times with COVID and then the cost of living. And, you do see on social media in particular that people are about to lose their home. You know, Is there anything that, could be done to try and help people in this situation?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, some of the stories, unfortunately, are quite tragic. We've had people losing their home after 20 years because they were in arrears by £4,000. So certainly the government could step in and have a minimum threshold. For example, I would say it's got to be at least £10,000 of arrears before banks can take action. But at the moment, the way the system is, and the banks are doing their job the best they can, and but a lot of people get trapped in that system.
And that's the problem, isn't it? People do feel trapped and feel as if there is no way out, that they're going to lose everything that they've ever worked for. And like you say, their home is their castle. So somebody comes to you. What is your process of guiding them through this?
Well, for most people who are in mortgage debt, for example, and have got the threat of losing their home, our first step is to make sure we can stop that. So that invariably means we step in, we pay off the arrears to stop that immediate threat of repossession. And most people who get into this predicament are usually at that stage of their life where kids have grown up. They don't necessarily need to be in the homes that they're in. So we basically help them downsize. So we help by putting their property on the market, help restructure their finances. And, once we've got a sale agreed on their property, we then work backwards and find them a new property. So eventually they'll end up in a property with no debt ever again.
I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? Do you think that people go into like panic mode and then just all common sense and thought goes out of their brain? And then you are that common sense approach to guide them. Do you think that that's what maybe you do to help them in that situation?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's quite common for people to look at what we offer and I mean, initially say it sounds too good to be true because it's so strikingly different to what other people offer. But that is what we do. We have them see. Unfortunately, we've got a pretty good track record now where we can help people see how we've done it for others. And most of the people we've helped are really happy to give testimonials so that they can then help other people who fall in the same situation.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Where we always hear the bad news, don't we? But there is the good news out there. I mean, have you got one story you can share of a customer that you have helped who you've just thought, wow, I am glad I do this job?
Gosh, there's so many examples, but the person that springs to mind is a lovely lady called Laverne who rang us a day before her repossession. It was too late to stop it. She got repossessed. She got repossessed the next morning, told me she was going to stay with her sister. I met up with her about 3 days later, and she'd called us a day before telling me her property was worth about 450. She said her mortgage was about 80,000 and she was being evicted for £17,000 of arrears, something like that. Long story short, when I met her 3 days later, she hadn't been living with her sister. She'd been living in her car with her partner.
No.
And, she was too embarrassed to tell her sister. So, while I was with her, I mean, she told everybody the same story about what her property was worth, but a quick research, I found her property wasn't worth 450. It was worth at least 600,000. She didn't have an 80,000 mortgage on it. It was only 26,000 left. She didn't even realize she was on a repayment mortgage. So while I was with her, she had a call from one of our competitors offering her 390,000 because they're going to play on the fact that she thinks it's only worth 450. So with people like Laverne, they don't feel they've got any other option. You see, they've either got the threat of losing that home, not knowing how soon the bank's going to sell it, or letting one of these cash buying companies give them 390. Long story short, we had her back in her home a week later. We paid Santander the money that she owed them, and we helped her find what she calls now her dream home. And she had about £47,000 in the bank when she completed. So it is there's so many stories like that where she was crying the day I got her back into her home, and then the day we completed on the purchase of her new home, her and her partner Patrick were both crying because they couldn't believe that had happened. So yeah, there's
That's
many
so
stories like that.
nice. It really is. Do you look at that then and think, oh, I should have started this years ago?
No, I've not necessarily looked at it like that. I know that everybody has their journey, and my journey was my journey, and it's taken me this long to sort of get to the point of doing something that I'm very passionate about. And it's all about looking forward now and seeing how we can really make a bigger difference.
I mean, somebody may be watching this now who's in a similar situation, and they may be thinking, "Oh, are there any upfront costs and things? What do I have to pay out?"
Mhm.
What would you say to them?
Well, this is the beauty of what we offer. The whole point of us getting involved is to take all the stress away, and part of that stress is financial stress. So not only may we come in and pay off the arrears, but we help people with the monthly mortgage, and we may help them with a monthly allowance. The whole point is for us to step in at point A and help them all the way along until they eventually can get into that eventual property, which they can call home. So, people don't need to worry about having to pay. Ultimately, it's all going to come out of the proceeds of the sale of their home, but we pay all that upfront.
That's really reassuring to know, because if somebody's got debts already and then they're thinking, hang on a minute, I've got to pay more out, where am I going to find this? That's
Absolutely.
that's actually giving them a little bit of breathing space, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the whole point of what we do. We're not just putting a plaster on their situation. We're coming in to find a whole holistic solution for them. So it's looking at everything from point A to point B.
I do find that absolutely lovely that you don't take upfront costs, because I know, again, a lot of people. I worked in property law for a long time, and you always felt sorry for these individuals. You feel like they've gone through an uphill journey, and then it seems to be uphill with all the struggle, and then to find that's really, really nice. Is there anything that you would have done differently when you started this business at all?
Um, Yeah, I think we sort of hung around with the old model for longer than we should have. It took me a while to really realize I didn't want to just be in a business which is all about cutthroat costs. And I would have loved to have started this sooner, but again, everything happens when it's meant to happen. And again, like I said earlier, it's all about looking forward and how we can help as many people as we can now.
I mean, you're based in the London area, right? Have you got any plans to expand everywhere else in the country and have?
No, we are already. With our recent TV advertising, we're now helping people all over the country now. So that's already started, and that's probably going to continue.
And also with sort of expansion comes more team and everything else. Do you find that your team's going to just keep growing and growing?
Yeah, well, I look forward to it now that I've understood and appreciate the value of team. It's absolutely amazing. We've taken on 4 new staff literally in the last 2 months. So I'm looking forward to that expansion. I think we're just sort of getting our house in order now with our systems and structures so that we can make sure that we're ready for the expansion.
Is there any property at all that you can't take on?
Um, Unfortunately, the only time we can't help people is if there's just not enough equity in,
Mm.
in, in their home, because it's the equity that allows for us to then be able to find them an onward property. It's very rare. There's usually something there, even if it means we help people with finding a rental
Mhm.
solution. So most often than not, we are always able to help. And there are other times when we've got to be prudent about who we're sort of going into bed with, so to speak. So we've got to
Yeah.
make sure these are people that not only want our help, but we're happy to work with them. So it usually does work itself out.
Maybe an unusual question, but maybe not for you. Do you just deal with like residential, or do you deal with commercial as well?
No, we've only been dealing with residential, but again, as part of the longer term vision, commercial property is definitely something that I'm going to be looking at in the future.
Yeah, because I mean, businesses are struggling. A lot of them have the finances on the properties and that they're in, and I can only imagine that that's going to be maybe something that is going to be asked of you too, if, with things that are going on with cost of living in particular. Um, is there anything in your business that keeps you awake at night?
Oh gosh, yes, very recently I remember. I do find it challenging if I can't find a solution for someone, or if they're not allowing me because they're not getting back to us. So there was a recent case where somebody was facing repossession, and she ended up falling into a huge trap with a bridging company, and I did whatever it took to try and stop that. So yeah, it's only when when you know there's a solution there, but you can't make it happen for a variety of reasons.
Now, I know that we sometimes get a lot of young entrepreneurs on here, people who are wanting to get into a business themselves. What piece of advice would you give any budding entrepreneur?
Wow. So I think one of the things that's held me in good stead over the years is always living, within your means. I think sometimes people try and run before they can walk, and that's a big challenge. So I would say have a vision. It's so important to find something that you're passionate about, that you can create a vision for, because building a business is challenging, and there's going to be days where you don't want to be doing it, and unless you've got a proper vision and a passion for something, it's always going to be difficult. But if you do have a vision, you do have passion, then it's you take it all in your stride.
Now, just imagine that you've gone back in time and there's a 16-year-old Prab stood there. What bit of advice would you give him?
Wow, I would have said that you don't have to do it on your own. That teamwork is what makes the dream work, and you can start trusting other people to do things. And I would have started creating team much sooner.
And I can see from your website that family means everything. What do you do to relax? What do you do to relax? Is it family time?
Yeah, I mean, mainly at the weekends, it is very much family time. Both my children, younger children, are in sports, and so I support them with their swimming and tennis. I exercise every morning, so I do lots of different things, including cycling and spin and blaze, and yoga. I do Bikram yoga 3 times a week. So I do find exercise is very much a means to not only relaxing, but most of the ideas I have in business come when I'm swimming or when I'm in my yoga class. I think that's really important. I spend a good hour in the spa and when I'm at the gym. So
Because business can be quite stressful at times. I know some days I think, oh, I've got a full on day. And it's like, and I think what maybe young entrepreneurs need to know is the hours. It's not just 9 to 5, is it?
no, absolutely not. I mean, it is as they say, the road less traveled. So if you are looking at becoming an entrepreneur, you've got to put the graft in. It comes with the territory. It's one of those things where you've got to put that effort in, but the rewards are there.
They most definitely are. And you're doing absolutely fabulous. Now, my quick fire questions at the end. What's your go to beverage in the office?
Oh, in the office,
Yeah.
a nice cold pint of Kronenberg.
In the office.
Well, I don't drink that much, but if I do, that's what I'll have.
If your job had a mascot, what would it be and why?
Oh my gosh.
Would you be having a superhero cape, do you think?
Yeah, I thought of Superman actually. It would be a Superman type mascot too, because we're coming to the rescue, I suppose.
Yes, you most definitely are. I definitely think you all need capes in that office. Now, if you could swap roles in a job with anybody for a day, who would you swap with?
Wow, gosh, I honestly can say that I would not want to swap roles with anybody. I absolutely love what I do, really proud of what we do, and I do believe everyone has a passion and a purpose for something,
Mm.
and I'm hopefully fulfilling that for myself. So I don't think there's going to be any role that I'd want to swap.
That's a good answer. Um, is there any entrepreneur that you look up to and think, wow, yeah, you've inspired me?
Yeah, definitely. Richard Branson was always someone as I was growing up who really did inspire me, uh, and yeah, gave me a lot of inspiration for what I do.
Now, imagine that I've taken your phone and it's got all the apps on there. What's the one app or tool that you couldn't be without in your daily work?
Um, One app, it's probably our CRM that we use because we can't run our business without it. I'm not really one for apps otherwise, but yeah, it's probably our CRM that we use, the lesser annoying CRM app.
And technology is obviously very important then to your business.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I'm finding it difficult to keep up with that because I'm very much old school. But yeah, it's a huge asset. I mean, it means that we can do our business from anywhere. There's people we can help all over the country that we don't necessarily have the means to go and see. And technology has really helped us do that.
Well, Prab, thank you so much for coming in to this podcast. And you know what? I just want to say to people out there now, if you are struggling, don't, like Prab says, bury your head in the sand. Get help. In fact, I would probably say that Prab says the faster you get the help, the quicker you act, you'll probably get a better night's sleep and you'll get some good action going forward in sorting this out. Now, as I say, we will put all the details in the description below of how you can get in touch with Faster Property Solutions. And, you know, there are better days ahead and you can get through this and you can sort it. So, as I say, don't bury your head in the sand. Get in touch with Prab and his team. He's lovely. The whole team seems lovely. You don't have to worry. You're not going to be judged. It's all about helping you and getting you everything that you need to have a good life. Thank you so much, Prab, for coming in.
Oh, thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.